I decided to go live a little early because it's me and I'm okay. And if you don't know that by now, then you haven't been paying attention. It's terrible. I'm one of those people that is either early or late. Usually I'm sitting here waiting for our time. But I'm here now. Hold on, I'm trying to get this up so I have comments. Da-da, da-da-da. Here it is. So hello, hello, hello. All right, let's hope that I get better reception than I did before. It looks super, super grainy right now. I'm hoping, please, please get better reception, please, please, pretty please. So hi, I am in California. We are in, hi long hair, skinny eyed toe. Hi. We are in, I'm going to have them shut the window. Hold on. Hold on. That way we don't have to listen to my dad on the phone with his credit card company. Maybe. Hi, it's a bit blurry. I'm hoping. Here's the thing. If I turn off the Wi-Fi here, I'm pretty sure I have almost nothing. So if it continues to be a bit blurry, we can try. But I'm really hoping that it straightens up. Please. Once again, we're in this gorgeous place. But we're in this valley and we have hills all around us. Hold on, let me see if I can show. We have hills, 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 hills. And it's really pretty. But there's hills all around us, which means the regular internet is not great. Which once again has been kind of an issue because I keep wanting to do more videos, and every time I have good service, something like we have terrible weather, or I don't know. The sound is good. Well, that's good. That's helpful. At least the sound is good. That helps me. I'm afraid. I wonder if I should. I'm afraid to take it off of Wi-Fi because I think if I take it off of Wi-Fi, it'll be way worse, and we'll start the circle of death thing again with my goofy face afterwards. Okay, so let me tell you, I am in outside of San Diego, California now. We are here until May 14th, which is Mother's Day and also my son's birthday. Those darn hills, I know they're so pretty, but they do not do very good things for internet, unfortunately. We will be here until May 14th, and then we are going up a little bit north of Los Angeles, which I assume will be very good internet, I would think, up there. And hopefully the weather will be great up there too. I keep saying I'm almost there. It's either one thing or another. It's driving me crazy. That, and I don't know, there always seems to be stuff going on that prevents me from doing videos. It's hard to do videos when I have to be inside because my my husband and my father are there, and it's really hard to do it inside. I mean, here I am outside, and I don't know if you can hear him, but he's bitching at the credit card company, which now we all have to hear. I love my dad. Anyways, so I have been excited about getting to this point in the book, though, because we are done with the first book. We have finished, at this point, you should have finished The Mistress of Magic, book 1 in the Mists of Avalon. And so now we can kind of go through, I want to go through the rest of chapter 19 and chapter 20, and then we'll kind of do a review of the entire book so far so that we kind of remember where we were at and what has happened up until now, and it keeps getting even better from here. It's exciting, and there's so much that comes out of these chapters. Like I have pages and pages of notes about chapter 19, because chapter 19 was such a big chapter and a lot of stuff happened. And for me, part of the questioning for me that I wanted to make sure I touched on when we started book club, hi Michelle, is I wanted to make sure I touched on the things in the book that really kind of cemented my path and the way I think about my pagan path. And because so much of it came from this book, at least kind of the way I go about thinking about my journey and my spiritual path, that I wanted to make sure I touched upon those big things that come up in the book that really helped to shape my path, so that if it's your path, that you can be inspired by the book also, I guess, is how I would put it. And there is a lot of those things in chapter 19. I have many, many pages in chapter 19, and I have a couple pages in chapter 20, and then we will kind of go over the I have a whole bunch of questions from the entire book, so we can kind of remember the entire book and where we've come to kind of set us up for what happens in the future here. Before we go into details, I will say again, this is your warning that there will be spoilers if you have not finished the first book, which is Mistress of Magic. If you have not gone through chapter 20 and you don't want spoilers, now is the time. We're going to start talking about everything that happened and kind of go through everything that happened up until chapter 20, until the end of 20. So it's time for you to turn it off. If you don't mind spoilers, then that's okay with me. But I try to do that ahead of time so that you all have the opportunity anyway to not have a whole bunch of spoilers. I have been waiting for this point in the book. I'm super excited about finishing up, because of course the first part of any book, especially a book that is this big a book, the first part of any book is kind of setting everything up that happens in the rest of the book. So yes, a lot of important things happen, but it really is kind of introducing us to all the characters, letting us see where the characters got their motivations for how they feel now, how they grew up, what brings them to the point in the book where it starts getting really meaty and interesting, and lots of cool things happen, and lots of shitty things happen, and how they deal with that, right? And so here we are, which I'm really excited about. Hopefully you guys are excited about it too. All right, let's start with chapter 19, where we left off. We were in chapter 19. We discussed in detail, and then I went off on a squirrel tangent, of course. Shocking that I would go off on a squirrel tangent, right? Yes. We discussed in detail that Igraine's wanting Morgaine to cover up her crescent moon for fear of offending the abbess, right? And how kind of ridiculous that is to me, that in this day and age, and in all ages, really, I really feel like that says something to all of us about what not to do, about how to bring ourselves to each other, I think, with a lot more inclusivity. A tangent, what, me? To kind of include everyone, even if people don't think exactly the way you do. That doesn't mean that their views are completely wrong, or that you can't have a discussion about what they think and about what you think. I can't tell you how many times discussions about spirituality have tweaked the journey that I'm on, because they'll say something that didn't occur to me before, or they look at something differently, and I'm like, oh, you know what, I haven't quite looked at that the same, so maybe I think of it differently after that. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about, after spitting on my book, sorry, is a grain then says, which this kind of makes me laugh. This kind of goes along with that. A grain says that she shouldn't weep against God's will, meaning God's will, took children from her and, did what it did. Because she has more than most women do. She has a priestess for a daughter. She has a son about to be crowned king, and her other children are in the bosom of Christ. And I want to talk about that. And then Morgaine thinks how blasphemous a thought that is. And this was one of those things that kind of shaped how I feel about my journey. And so I want to just quickly explain what I felt about that. Morgaine says, can you imagine thinking of all the generations of dead clinging to Jesus? It's like someone telling Jeff to hide his Star of David. Yes, he chooses to hide it for, people are still mean. Yeah, I know it. As horrible as people are. Morgaine thinks, hi, Jess. No, you're not late. I'm early as usual. Am I really early? Oh, wow. It's not even 4 o'clock and I'm starting already. I'm really sorry. Just because this is the big to do. This is the big finish. I probably shouldn't start until 4 o'clock. I can't believe I can't wait to start discussing the book that I'm just starting to go. Oops. I really should wait. I'm terrible. I mean, I'm either early or late. You all know that, right? It's awful. What to do. Let me go back and say, we are in a town called Jamul, California. We are outside San Diego. We will be here until the 14th of May. And then we go to some place called Soledad Canyon, I think it's called, and it's north of Los Angeles. We're going to be, it's funny, every time I say we're going to be doing something weird happens and we end up not being able to. But hopefully we're going to be dipping down into Tijuana, which is only like 20 minutes from here, before we leave, because we wanted to get a couple things from Mexico. And then on the 14th, we'll be traveling up towards Los Angeles. May the 4th be with you. Yes, I know. I'm so excited for it. I can't even tell you. It's tomorrow. Yay. I have memes already. Those of you who are friends with me on Facebook and have been for over a year will know that normally every May the 4th, I am, my whole wall turns into Star Wars stuff. I love Star Wars. Even on our little Finch app, which is like the self-care app, they started to do like these little Star Wars outfits for our little guys and everything, which I was like, yes, that's so awesome. I love it. Yes, so tomorrow is Star Wars. Yes, I know, poor Steven. Tomorrow's Star Wars Day. Yay! Hi, Fatima. What else? I had quite a week. Tim is very concerned that you're going to Mexico. I know, everybody is very concerned. We will be very careful, I promise. We're not going to take the RV into Mexico at all. So we'll be okay, I promise. I have to say, this sounds terrible, but when you are so obviously poor, not poor, I shouldn't say poor, because I do think of myself as financially poor, but, in life I feel rich. But they really don't bug you very much because they know you don't have a whole lot to offer, which sounds terrible, but I usually don't get looked at twice from, people who would be bad people, because they can look at me and see, she's really not going to have a whole lot for us to take from or anything like that. Anyways, I have had quite a couple weeks. My Aunt Nancy, those of you who are sending energy, I thank you. My Aunt Nancy is in the hospital. She's still in the hospital. She she had pneumonia. She had fluid in her lungs. The only one, yeah. The only one, the teeny boppers, right? She had fluid drained from her abdomen. She had fluid drained from her lungs. She went home for one day and then got brought back in with like this awful, violently ill sickness, vomiting, diarrhea, and shaking and weak and all that, like that came on all of a sudden, so that they thought it was food poisoning. And then my mother and my Aunt Frida and her boyfriend, Daryl, they all came down with it too. So it's obviously a virus. My guess is it's a rotavirus, which if you know anything about, it affects kids a lot, but it affects adults also. And it's what went through all the cruise ships not too long ago. If you heard, like all the cruise ships had like this awful vomiting and diarrhea sickness. That's my guess is it's that. So send them all energy. Nancy is still in the hospital. I hope she'll be getting out fairly soon. So thank you for all the energy. In the meantime, my son, Dustin, who is my third son, and I only say this very briefly because I know, first of all, it's hard when you're not a mother, and not to say that you can't empathize with where I'm at, but when you're not a mother, it's really easy to say, you should kick your adult children out of your house and stuff like that. When you're a mother, you will do anything for your kids, and even if they unknowingly are taking advantage of you, you care about them and you want them to be okay. Well, Dustin is my third son. He is living in our old trailer, and which all the bills are still in mine and Peter's names, because they got kicked out of their apartment during COVID, and they have like a judgment against them. So they literally, like, they have no credit. They can't get in any place, whatever. So they couldn't have any bills in their name. The house is still in our name, all that kind of stuff. Well, they got their electric turned off. So I spent 3 days last week, like, going through everything to get their electric on. We had to like find a notary republic that would do it online, which is really, you would think in this day and age, is really easy, and it is once you finally find the correct people. But it took me forever to actually find someone, so I'm not going to go through all of that. It's a pain in the ass, but finally, after 3 or 4 days, we did get their electric turned back on, and put them under this budget thing that they have to pay, and so that's where we are. Yay. Okay, it's after 4 o'clock. Okay, so now I can actually start talking about the book. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So again, here's your warning. We're going to start talking about details of the book. If you are not caught up, then you might want to hop off, if you don't want spoilers. Spoilers are coming right now. Okay. Now that that's done, we are going to go through the rest of chapter 19, which is a lot happened in chapter 19 and chapter 20. And then we're going to kind of do like a look at the whole book up until now, because the first section, the first book of Mists of Avalon, we are done with now. Look at that one hair. How annoying is that? For chapter 19, last time we discussed Igraine's wanting Morgaine to cover up her crescent moon for fear of offending the abbess, which just drove me absolutely batty. I, of course, went into this rant and rave and talked for way, way too long about other stuff. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was that Igraine says she should not weep against God's will because she has more than most women do. She has a priestess for a daughter. She has a son about to be crowned king. And her other children are in the bosom of Christ. Morgaine sees this as a blasphemous, how dare she, how awful a thing. Who would want a God that hung on to your dead children? And, she says, thinking of all the generations of dead clinging to the Christ, that seems so blasphemous and awful to her. that she can't even imagine thinking that way. Like, what is the point? Once again, here's one of those things that that ingrains religion is just incredulous to Morgaine, because she thinks, why in the world would anybody want that? Would want her dead children clinging to the arm of Christ. And you know, I see, as somebody who used to be a Christian, I can see how some people would feel like that would be comforting to, you know, I guess, to lay your child in the arms of Christ and stuff. But it's, to a pagan anyways, it kind of seems like a waste. Like, why would you want God to do that? What is the point of that, right? So I thought we would talk about, and if you start to rain right now, I'm gonna be so pissed because we have blue skies and this one gray cloud. Okay. So I thought quickly I wanted to just talk about what pagans believe, what I believe as a pagan, what many pagans believe. Not every pagan believes what I believe, by the way. So just as a caveat to say that, not every pagan believes as I believe. Not every pagan. The one thing that I really that drew me to this religion in the beginning was that you can take what resonates with you and leave the rest. You don't have to. I'd rather be more like Krauss director, right? You don't have to. There aren't set tenets within our belief system, so that the things that resonate for you, you are welcome to take that and use that in your belief system, and the things that don't resonate, you can leave that aside and do things your own way. But in general, what do we as pagans believe? We believe the undying spirit or soul that is reborn into many lives, learning new lessons and striving to reach the enlightenment of the true self. Where is your cover? It is not set up yet. It is. See, it's over there. But because we had such problems with the internet, which I forgot last week, that the internet was in the front window. Hold on, I got to show you. Please come get your yappy dog. Please, I'm trying to do a video. They let their yappy dog like yap all the time. Nope, that didn't do it. Okay, so see the front of the RV, that black box up there, that's our internet. And so I didn't really think about it before, that if I was way in the back of the RV, then I'm not going to get great service, which I'm not getting awesome service anyway. You can see that it's kind of blurry. I can see that it's blurry. Gosh, they have huge ravens down here. They're just massive. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Hold on. Do you see him? See? Oh, he is just massive. Okay. And they're very vocal, by the way. Okay. So anyways, yes, that's not Ty. That is an annoying little yappy mini poodle that they allow to just stand out there and yap and yap and yap and yap. Okay. Not that I'm at all upset about that. So that's why I'm not undercover, because it's way towards the back of the camper, and I wanted to make sure I had enough internet, hopefully, to be okay. He's actually been so good about it. I can't even tell you. I know I'm getting off on a Thai tangent now, but he has been so good lately. I took out a spray bottle that I just put regular water in. And part of Ty's deal with other animals is he gets hyper focused, and he, like, you can't pry his attention away from wanting to kill that other dog or something. And the spray, not that he doesn't love baths, but he doesn't hate them either. He's not like afraid of them, and he's not afraid of water. But something about the action of spraying him with a spray bottle, like, it breaks his attention. There he is. Hold on. There's Pipe. Wait, can you see him? Yeah, where is he? There he is. Hi, Bear. It breaks his attention, and he's been so good about it that he hasn't even barked at these other dogs that are like yapping and going crazy and stuff. He like hardly pays him any mind, because usually if we go on a walk, I carry the spray bottle, and all I have to do is one spray, and he's like, oh yeah, okay. It's been perfect. I'm loving it. See? Yappy, yappy, yappy. And Ty's just like, whatever. He's peeing on a tree. So good. It's been so good lately. I can't even tell you. He's looking at him. Hold on. He's like, hey, you little asshole. But he literally is doing nothing. I'm so excited. He's been so good. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. And that little yappy dog is a little brat. You are good. Okay. All right. So, yes. So we believe in, many of us believe in reincarnation. We have no need for salvation or atonement of sin, because to us, virtue and honor are their own reward, which we engage in. We engage in virtue and honor and doing good out of love and personal pride. Our behavior, whether good or ill, will shape our future destiny in this life or in a future life. So we don't have a whole lot of need for, a vengeful God who looks down on you for not doing the right thing. We don't have, a whole lot of need for shame and stuff for doing not what God would have told you to do. We have a personal pride in doing, what the balance of nature tells us to do, but it doesn't have to do with, atonement. That's not a concept that that most of us believe in. Karma is not a system of reward and punishment, even though sometimes we want it to be. Like I very often will say, karma would be really nice if that takes attendance. Yes, exactly. Very often I will say something like, I can't wait till karma gets that asshole, right? But in reality, that's not really how I think. It's just a way of law, that the way that nature functions and the way that nature strives for balance. These birds are hilarious. Anyways, it's a way that nature strives for balance. We believe that each incarnation is followed by a period of rest and reflection. Many of us believe, not all of us. Rest and reflection before the soul starts again, and we start again in a new life to have new experiences, gain new wisdom and insight. Some people believe we're striving to reach that true self. Karma is not there to serve us, right? As much as we really want it to be sometimes. I always joke, I have I have it with me on this trip too. I have a little pocket stone that says karma on it, and I always joke that that's for me to throw at people who I think karma is taking too long, but really that's not really how we believe. That's not really how we believe karma works. That is just, something for me to make myself feel better when I think, oh, come on. We do feel sometimes like sometimes the good people, when you're doing good and you're striving to do better and you do the best you can, sometimes you think, well, what the fuck? How come, I have all these things that go wrong, right? It's hard not to think, how come, this person seems to have everything go their way, but I have a list of suggestions. That's right, exactly. That period of waiting and rest, I call the Summerland, because I like the idea of the Summerland, which again is a place that your soul goes to rest and reflect. Except the Merlin, he got to skip rest as he wasn't done with his work. Yes, that's true. He didn't rest. He was like, okay, I'm not quite done. I have to go back into a new incarnation already, right? And I believe when you're in the Summerland, you kind of go, okay, what lessons do I want to learn this time? What did I not get to experience that I think, you know what, I might help my soul out. I might balance my soul better if I am able to learn this lesson. If I'm, like for instance, in my next life, I would like to learn the lesson of being a rich person. I know I joke, but there are times that I think, okay, I really must have asked for this. I really must have asked to never have money and to go through life where you are constantly in worry of money. Because that seems to be my adult life anyway. That seems to be where we're at all the time. So in my next life, I would really like to learn the lesson of generosity when you do have money. And yes, I'm somewhat serious about that because I have definitely learned the lesson of the poor person. Okay. Actually, probably I haven't, which is the point, right? Duh, Jen. Balance, balance. Okay. Anyways, all right. So I'm going to need a rest after this one, right? Oh my goodness. So that all came from Morgaine thinking that it's blasphemous. So really, the lesson there is to learn how to accept people for where they have grown up, right? Which I think I'm going to talk about again as we go. Morgaine realizes that she is pregnant. So how does Morgaine realize she's pregnant? You guys remember she's in this room with she's talking with Morgause, and Morgause says something to her. What did she say? Morgause says, "No, I have no children, Morgause. Until this year at Beltane, I was kept a virgin for the goddess." And then Morgaine goes, "Oh shit. It has been a couple moons since Beltane, and I have not gotten my period yet. Oh my goodness." So it, like, as she felt the wave of sickness, she also felt this kind of panic, right? Like, oh fuck, you know what hasn't happened? We've gone through another full moon since then. It waned and filled and waned again, and I haven't had my dark bleeding. It hasn't happened. I just took my sweater off and now I'm chilly again. Yep, welcome to menopause. Okay. And so in a panic, she suddenly realizes, you know what? I am fucking pregnant. I cannot believe it, but I am pregnant. Her immediate reaction, the first thing she thinks about is abortion. So we are going to talk about abortion. If that's a sensitive topic for you, I'm sorry. I'm going to talk about this side of the issue, and then also talk about the fact that we need to try to accept people for what they learned and from where they are. But there's, because I'm on this side of it, this is what I've grown up with. So if you have an issue with, if you're a pro-life person, you may totally hate everything I have to say about this. And I'm sorry ahead of time, because it is not meant to turn you away. I'll say that ahead of time. Her immediate reaction is, I know what has to be done, right? She says she knew what must be done, and done as quickly as possible. So that's the first thing to keep in mind, is that in Avalon, they know about what causes, they call it spontaneous miscarriage. They know what causes that. They have herbs that they can give to the newly pregnant mother, but it must be done quickly. It must be done early on. It's not something that they take lightly, and it's not something that they try to do way into the pregnancy. At some point in the book, I think they did talk about it once already with a grain, that there are ways to do that, but it's heartbreaking and it's messy, and it's very traumatic for the woman, and that at that point you may not be able to bear children again if you do that, because it's so traumatic for the woman later on. So they talk very clearly about doing it as quickly as possible. It could not be done in the 3 days of Arthur's crowning, for she had no access to the roots and herbs she could find in Avalon, and furthermore, she dared not be sick now. So there is a cost to this. There's a cost to this herbal abortion remedy, and that is that you're very sick. And that is true. There's still herbs and stuff that you can use to remedy that, but it does cause you to be very sick. And sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it makes it so that the fetus is not viable, but that you have to carry it, and it's not something that you go into easily. And I will say that 99% of the time that abortion comes up, even today, it is not done willy-nilly. It is not done without thought and forethought and agonizing decision making, because we know that it comes from a place that is sometimes a dark place, and it comes from a place of fear and panic, and it is not something that is ever done lightly for 99% of women. Morgause tells her it may take away having any other children. Right, later on, that's true. But for now, she's not saying anything to Morgause, right? She's like, I'm not going to say anything. She talks a little bit about, we talk a little bit about the fact that women always, so again, women have always found access to end an unwanted pregnancy. Throughout time, in history, there has always been some form of abortion. The reason that I am so staunchly pro-choice is because no law that they create is going to change that. No law that they create is going to take away abortion. And so I just feel like it's a false choice to say we're going to take away women's right to abortion, because you're not doing that. What you're doing is taking away a woman's right to safe abortion. And so that to me is even worse. That's something that old white men, I feel like white men have a lot to say about women's uterus and ability to decide when and if she should have children. And yes, I have a huge issue with that. And it will always happen, whether they try to take away all our rights or not. It's just whether we have access to a safe abortion. Because women will always try to find herbs or other means to end an unwanted pregnancy. There will always be panicked women who will take control of their own bodies, period. Just saying. And again, that is not to say, if you're pro-life, I do not mean to take that from you. To me, that is a right to my body that other people have now invaded and said that I don't have that right. And so that is not a right that someone else has to say what happens over someone else's body. Thomas Jefferson said the rights of the minority should never be taken away by the majority. And I think we've really lost sight of that. Okay, I'm going to step down off my soapbox because I don't want to get into a political discussion. I'm sorry. Okay. Where the next thing was, where will a grain live? She sees her mother. She talks to her mother, and Arthur says to her, or I think she says it before that. Where will a grain live once Arthur is crowned? She says before, I think there's helicopter training over the hill, I think. So we always have helicopters that are coming really low and then going up and over the hill. So sorry. Just wait for you to go. In the comment, that's right. She says she's going to go to the nunnery at Tintagel. And she is going to live in the convent once Arthur's crowned, which I find to be very interesting. As a mother who, said she loved her children, and she obviously loved her children, that she so completely was infatuated and was in love with Uther that she forgets that her children were there. She has a chance to reconnect with her son. Her son would, allow her to live in the castle with him and hold a high place. And she's like, nah, I'm going to go live in the nunnery and just mourn Uther forever. Sometimes I have a hard time with some of their choices. And it might be that I have strong opinions about some of this. Maybe. Morgause. So Morgause finally recognizes that Morgaine is pregnant. They're talking, and she says he swore to deal justly by the gods of Avalon before Vivian gave him the sword of the Druids, Morgaine says. And Morgause says, did she so? And then she changes the subject. But enough of gods and kings and all that, Morgaine. What ails you? And when Morgaine does not answer, she says, do you think I can't tell a breeding woman when I see one? Igraine did not see it, but she has not eyes now only for her grief. So yes, Morgause recognizes in the morning after, I believe after she throws up or something, that she's like Queen Victoria. Yes, ever mourning her husband's death. Exactly. In the morning, Morgause recognizes that Morgaine is with child. She has birthed a whole lot more children than Igraine, for one thing. I think that's one of the things that she easily recognizes, that the sickness is Morgaine is pregnant. So then we have Arthur's crowning. Arthur's crowned. What kind of people come to Arthur's crowning? We have this huge day, and we remember Uther's crowning, right? Arthur's crowning, there is a huge day. And what kind of people come to Arthur's crowning? Dun, 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 dun. I try to wait for the lag for a minute and allow you guys to answer. I always feel bad that I don't give you enough time to answer. But in the meantime, I feel like there would be dead air. And it becomes awkward then because I'm just standing here staring into a camera at myself. Oh, I'm so goofy. Okay. All kinds of people come to Arthur's crowning. And as was prophesied, all night they had come from the length and breadth of Britain to see the High King crowned here on the Isle of Priests. There were crowds of the little dark people, tribesmen clad in skins and checkered cloth and adorned with dull-colored stones from the north, red-haired and tall and bearded, and more than any other, the Roman peoples of the civilized lands. And there were tall, fair, broad-shouldered men, Angles and Saxons from the treaty troops, who had been settled south in Kent and had come to renew the broken allegiance. So all kinds of people come to Arthur's crowning, which is a wonderful feat in itself. There isn't the fighting that there was when Uther was crowned, because as soon as people see Arthur, for one thing, as soon as they see him, they understand that he is Uther's son. And we had heard that Kevin, I think it was when Kevin was talking to Vivian and the Merlin, that as soon as Vivian said, as soon as people see Arthur, they'll realize that it's Uther's son. They'll know. There won't be any doubt. And that's true. There is no doubt. There is no infighting. It seems much easier in this incarnation to crown Arthur. Just as it was prophesied, he's able to join all the tribes together. During the crowning, we have a coronation. Yes. Oh, yes. I was going to say that. So in the midst of this, I was thinking that too, as I'm rereading and writing questions and stuff. I thought, how interesting. We really, if you get a chance to see, it's so funny. I still want to say Prince Charles. King Charles is that, yeah, he did take Charles, right, Stephen? He didn't take another name, right? If you get a chance to see the coronation, it's something I will definitely be watching, to see what happens during a coronation. It's a big event, and people come from all over. And unfortunately, I don't think we get to see all of the, this is neat because we get to see all of the very intimate moments. King Charles III. We get to see all of the people going from every tribe and pledging their loyalty to the new king, which I think is such an interesting, that has happened for, who knows how long in history, generation upon generation upon generation. And it would be interesting to see all the people that go to pledge loyalty from, all the tribesmen of Britain. Be an interesting thing to see. But it would be a good idea if you get a chance to watch some of the coronation. I know I will definitely be watching and thinking about Arthur's coronation in his time, right? And the differences and the similarities. During Arthur's coronation, he signals to all of the people that he will be advised by pagans and Christians alike. How does he signal that he'll be advised by pagans and Christians alike? Yet another one. I love helicopters. Well, now it won't be quiet. You'll get to hear the helicopter going over. I swear I'm going to get the Jeopardy music like in the background or something to play when I do a question. So for all the peoples of Britain, he had said, my sword for your protection, my hand for justice. The Merlin came forward in his white robes of state next to the venerable Bishop of Glastonbury. Merlin and priest side by side. Yes! Merlin, who represents the Druids. The Merlin came forward in the white robes of state next to the venerable Bishop of Glastonbury. He looked mild and gentle. Arthur bowed briefly to them both, taking each of them by the hand. The goddess put it into his head to do that, Morgane thought. Damned clever that, to set the Merlin and the bishop side by side, in token that he'll be advised by both. So that's a lot said. Clever to have him do that. And that was the signal to all of the people that he is not just going to be advised by the Christian people. He is also going to be advised by the Druid people, the pagans. And here they are able to live side by side. And he signals, yes, I'm going to be advised by both, which I think is awesome. Then Lot and Morgause present their family, and Morgane goes up and they pledge their loyalty. They actually let Morgane go first, and Arthur is wonderful, of course, to her and, says thank you. And Morgane says, on behalf of Avalon, we welcome you. Thank you. She doesn't bow her head. It does say something very specific. It says... she was, I welcome you for yourself and for Avalon, Morgane. No, wait. I bring you the homage of Avalon, my lord. She did not kneel, she bowed her head slightly, my lord Arthur, and of those who serve the goddess. And so behind her, the priests are, oh my gosh, look, there's a priestess here from Avalon. How dare she come? And that's what happened. And Lot and Morgause present their son, Gawain, as a companion to Arthur. And Arthur's companions then become the Knights of Camelot. And they say at some point he has a circle of his companions. His companions at this point also include Lancelot, who is Vivian's son, with King Balin, who was called Galahad at birth. Sometimes you'll hear him called Galahad. And also Arthur's foster brothers, the sons of Actorius. So we know Arthur went to be fostered with Actorius, and his sons Kai and Bedwyr are also part of his companions. And they make a point of talking about Kai. He has almost a sinister smile because he has a scar on his face from a battle that he's been in. And they talk about how interesting it is for Kai to have grown up not knowing that Arthur was going to be king. So he grew up with Arthur almost as littler, like as beneath him. Not that he ever treated him bad, but never knowing that he was going to be crowned king. So he, all of a sudden, it must have been very weird for him all of a sudden to have this little brother of his crowned king, and now he has to like think of him much differently than as they grew up, as as he was. I'm gonna try to keep going because of course I'm chatting away and we have like it's 50. I've been talking for 50 minutes already. Then King Pellinor. I do want to just briefly talk about a little bit about King Pellinor because he is a figure in history, and I think he comes up again. I swear he comes up again in this. King Pellinor is one of the kings of the Lakeland, and he comes up and immediately says, "I hope you'll forgive me, but I have to leave." And Arthur's like, "Leaving already? You just got here. It's you must not respect me too much." And King Pellinor says, "Oh no, I'm sorry." Kind of like Harry's cousin. Yes, right? Yes. And King Pellinor says, "Yes, but there's a dragon at home. I have to go kill a dragon at home. There's a dragon terrorizing my land." And so they're in, but I was, wanted to point that out, that King Pellinor immediately has to leave and go to his homeland to slay a dragon. Then we get to a point where we're talking Morgane and Morgause. They're done. The coronation ends. Morgane is exhausted. She goes back to Morgause's place where she's staying with Morgause, goes to bed. She sleeps very well. She wakes up and immediately goes outside to vomit. And Morgause brings her some wine and some hard bread and says, "Here, this won't come up." Obviously, when you're pregnant, this is what happens. And then they start talking, and they start talking about the virtues of like Vivian and Igraine, and Morgause tells her, "I wouldn't tell Igraine about this pregnancy because she's, suddenly becomes so pious." And she says, she talks about how love is a diversion. So Morgause very clearly is not like in love with Lot. She is in love with the power of being Lot's wife and being the queen of her kingdom. But she talks about how she, once in a while, she, might stray from him, from his bed and stuff. But, she always is not virtuous. She is loyal to her husband, but she's not always virtuous. And Morgane starts to talk about, for the first time in many years, she felt confused, knowing that virtue could not be so simply defined. The Christians valued chastity above all other virtues, while in Avalon, the highest virtue was to give over your body to the god or goddess in union with all of the flow of nature. To each, the virtue of the other was the blackest sin and ingratitude to their own god. So again, I wanted to bring this up again because we have to recognize that other people's cultures and other people's religions, that they are what they were raised to be many times. I can clearly remember Peter being a Christian, and I grew up Catholic, and I remember, I'll tell you the story. I'll try to do it quickly. You know me, quickly is not an easy thing for me, but Peter trying to teach me about the Trinity and how the Trinity of God the Christ, and God the Holy Spirit being one entity was incorrect. And when he had learned some things, he was almost a pastor for a while, and teaching me about the Trinity not being what I had always thought it was, what I had grown up. I was Catholic. I thought for a long time, I thought I was going to be a youth minister in the Catholic Church. And so him coming to me and saying, the Trinity is not real, and I won't go into how he, convinced me that that was not what the Bible had said. But he did a lot of research about, in the original Greek, and in the Trinity was not correct. And I remember feeling extremely betrayed and feeling like all that I had believed up until now, all that I had my path to, how can I believe any of it if this is not true? And terms of things. And some of that was just not realizing that you have to accept people for the baggage that, I don't know, to try to teach a little bit about why I do things the way I do so much. A lot of people have questioned like why I don't very often defend myself from what other people say. I have several people that have gone away and crossed paths with me and have gone a different way now. Wrong, and this is why they're wrong and I'm right, is this very point, which is I try very hard to take people at their viewpoint. Very often I don't get to see everything that they grew up with and all the things that culminated to hard not to tell people their viewpoint is wrong, because it has to be okay sometimes. And so part of that, actually in the last few years, I have gone through a few iterations of that then I just have to look at it and say, you know what, they believe what they believe, and to them that's the truth. And I don't want to be the person, because it is true to them. And so I'm not going to be that person that that is arrogant enough to believe that only my truth is truth. Which is why my motto is, if it works for you, it works, right? That all kind of comes together with that. So I wanted to say that. Okay, we're all say her goodbyes and returns to Avalon to begin the abortion process, and thus ends chapter 19. Chapter 20 starts. Morgane slips away to gather the herbs needed for her abortion. She goes afield to find a specific root that she needs for this, and finds kind of lost, right? She looks up and she thinks, she is. Unknown Hazel Grove. This woman was or is. And there's a lot here that I was going to read, but knowing that you read it, I will try to just, I don't know, I will try to condense my feelings and thoughts on it so that I don't have to read it. But it's a great, make sure you reread that chapter, or at least the descriptions of what this woman says to her. I might read some of it, guys. How are you guys doing? Okay, how do you feel? I'm probably not even live anymore, am I? Let me know if you guys can see me. I feel like I'm not even live. Shit. The fact that it says I went down to one person means I might not be live. Ooh, Fatima's still here. I didn't lose one person anyway. I can see you. Oh, good. So it's out. Now it says it went back up to 4. Okay. All right. So this person is the queen of the fairies. Fuzzy connection. Sorry. This person is the goddess. It's not goddess, though. They don't believe in gods and goddesses. Remember, way back, they talked about the people who originally were at Avalon and before the Druids. And we talked about them being kind of fae people. This is the queen of the fae people. Wish she had taken her offer of no pain, right? I know. This is the queen of the fairy people. And I do want to kind of, I hate to read But I do want to talk about Whopper from the Queen of the Fairies. It's really interesting. First of all, she calls her Morgane of the Fairies. She says she sees this woman. She was not one of the priestesses. She was not, okay, so I'll try to see it. She wore a gown of shadowy gray-green, the color of willow leaves when they grow old and dusty in late summer, and some kind of dark cloak. There was a tiny glimmer of gold at her throat. At first glance, Morgane thought she was one of the little dark people with whom she had awaited the killing of the king stag. But the woman's bearing made her look quite unlike those small hunted people. She carried herself like a priestess or a queen, so she was very proud. She carried young. So again, like Vivian, she was concealing her fear with the skill of a priestess. She said, if you know my name, why? What is that to you? Life is precious to my people, the woman said. Though we neither bear nor kinswoman, would seek to cast away the only child you will ever bear. Buffering, oh no. Is it still buffering for everyone? Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. I can go over them. And then I'm gonna I might even post the questions. I don't know how you can go over all of them. Next week it is 1, 2, and 3, and we're frozen. God damn it. Stupid internet. It's called The High Queen. And we're going to do chapter 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to do a video that isn't live. I'm sorry. So that you can watch the rest of chapter 20. Okay? Let me know. Hopefully you guys at least heard that. Chapter 1, 2, and 3 next week. And I'm going to upload a video that's already done with the rest of the notes from chapter 20. Multiple choice questions, so you can kind of test yourself and make sure you got everything from the entire first book, okay? This week, the second book is called The High Queen. Yes. Sorry, you guys, that, my stupid internet. So I apologize. I will do a video on the community chat here on YouTube, okay? I love you guys. Thanks so much. Sorry.